welcome to the program. Good afternoon.
Hey, Casey, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Got a quick question, if you don't mind. I hear Rush Limbaugh, Brian Kilmeade, Sean Hannity, even senators talking about how it's going to be a landslide in November of next year.
Yeah.
Does that sow a false sense of security?
Yes, it does.
That people just walk away and there's a chance that we could be overtaken?
Yeah, and I agree. I agree with that. First of all, do I think that the polls show that President Trump right now has the advantage? Absolutely. But here's some things that you have to consider. Half of the country will still vote against him, no matter what, right? In general, you've got two big camps, and then you've got the middle camp, and you have to get more of the middle camp to win. So if you look at the battleground states right now, Trump is winning in all of them, and that doesn't happen.
Right.
But it's still a year out. You've also got 20-some-odd Republican representatives retiring. You know, you've got to fill those seats with new people, so those are always opportunities for the Democratic Party to pick up those seats. There's a lot that can go wrong. A ton can go wrong. Just because it looks like he's going to be the favorite, and statistically, the president wins re-election when they run for re-election. That doesn't mean that it can't go the other way. So, yeah, it's very important that people understand that this. I mean, look how close the last election was, population-wise. It was technically a major win. You could say landslide for President Trump, but they still doubt the results because of the popular vote. So you've got to be, you have, I agree with you on this. I don't think we should be running around talking about landslides and things like that. I don't think it does any good. I think it motivates the other side, and it doesn't motivate our side at all to get people out there.
I was going to ask how you would get the A-listers to quit talking in that tone of voice so that we can keep the fervor we have now.
That's a good question, because they don't listen to me even though I'm right more than they are. So
That's a tough way to be.
I'm just being a jerk. But no, I honestly, I don't know. Other than reiterating it on your own, and as other people share it and mention it, I would make that point. So if you see friends sharing these sorts of things and going, it's going to be a landslide, it's going to be slaughter. Yeah, I would still put out there that got to be careful. You have to understand there is a large chunk of the country that will just vote against him because they don't like him, and the reality is the United States is essentially split down the middle. So it doesn't matter what happens or what somebody does. They're going to vote for or against their side regardless of what happens. And so the narrowest of margins is what wins elections in the U.S. now.
Can I switch horses in midstream real quick?
Sure.
I'm thinking about the stuff going on in Virginia right now with the Second Amendment rights and mobilizing the National Guard. Sounds like the liberals or Democrats are trying to sow for another civil war.
Yeah.
In that sense. And if that's the case, war happens, then you have to bring in somebody to quell that, because obviously the military's more than likely not going to go against its own citizenry.
Right.
That would kind of take America out in itself, wouldn't it? Which is what globalists want.
Well, and so in Virginia, for those of you who don't know what's going on, they're trying to confiscate guns. People are not going to turn them in. A bunch of sheriffs have declared sanctuary counties in their jurisdictions. Democrats have pushed back. The governor's kind of backed off, but some Democrats pushed back and said, send the National Guard to enforce the law. The National Guard, I believe, in Virginia isn't going to enforce that law. So you're going to get into a point where you're going to have standoffs, possibly shooting conflicts and things of that nature. And if it happens in one place like Virginia, will it be then a powder keg elsewhere? Because, if you see something like that happen in one place, other places that are dealing with it, for example, let's just take Illinois right next door, where, you've got a woman who is beaten, nearly killed. She pulled a gun, defended herself, and she's the one that's behind bars, not the other guy. And you could have a powder keg go off in a place like that where people start marching, and the next thing you know, it cascades, and the whole thing could snowball simply because they're trying to violate the constitutional rights of their citizens. And it's a very dangerous situation what's happening in Virginia, but I do not believe, and I hope that I am correct, I do not believe that the Virginia National Guard would ever go door to door and take people's firearms away from them. I just don't believe it would happen.
Well, thank you, sir, for taking my call. I appreciate it.
You bet. I appreciate it. Now, with that said, that doesn't mean you don't prepare for them to be willing to do it, because you don't know who the leadership is in the National Guard, and there will be some people who leave their posts. There will be some people who do not. But, yeah, what's happening in Virginia right now, very, very tenuous situation. We got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.